This conference will now be recorded.
I call this meeting to the city governing body of the city of Blanco on May 25th, 2021 at 6 p.m. to order.
This way.
Can we have the roll call, please?
Mayor Rachel Lumpy.
Here.
Mayor Pro Tem Salcedo.
Here.
Councilmember McClellan.
Present.
Councilmember Smith.
Present.
Councilmember Barron. Present. Councilmember Devine.
Present.
Quorum.
Great. Please join me in saying the Pledge of Allegiance.
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, moving on to announcements. I do not have any announcements. Do any of the council members? Okay. Do we have any public comments?
No one signed up.
Okay. So we're gonna, we only have one thing on the agenda tonight, which is to discuss and possible action on review of proposal from Kelly Kunster regarding consultation and evaluation of staff and city structure. Ms. Kinsler.
Dirty, sounds like the name's not there. I'm happy to. Good evening, Mayor Council. Hello, those of you virtually. Oops, here we go. Thank you. Good evening, Mayor, Council members, city staff, those of you attending virtually. I'm Kelly Kinsler. I was asked to put a proposal together, and I actually came to Blanco early today because I did a lot of research. And what I did is I combined the research that I did with the couple of comments I heard from council last time and speaking to your city administrator and receiving documents from him. That's where this proposal came from. Since the last time that you all met, your city administrator has hired Linda to do your budget. And based on Linda's previous experience, I think that you should let Linda do the budget and chop out the budget piece of this. Unless you want the budget to be supervised, but I don't see any reason for me to be involved in the budget after speaking with your staff. So unless, I mean, I will tell you for the record, your budget concerns me deeply. You have IRS issues, you have issues with auditing. It's not pretty. And so that's why I put it in there, and I expected to get city help. There's no way in 80 hours you can fix or look at all that, but I thought I would at least construct a budget. But now that Linda has been hired, it appears to me that city staff and Linda feel like they can do budget on their own. So I'm fine with that. If council's fine with that. The rest of it really goes together. It's about personnel, it's about policy, and it's about your manual. And it's really kind of hard to do any of those without the other. We wouldn't be able to, without doing the budget, we could actually move the timeline up. So that's one thing that I would do. As far as the second page of the proposal, did reserve a right to use a subcontractor who I've already chosen who comes at a reduced rate. And also, there was other services. What I understood from you all is you wanted to know what your immediate needs were and then maybe what you could use in the future. And so in the future, in the very near future, you guys need a strategic plan. You need to have a city meeting, you need input from your citizens, a lot of input, a lot of council input, so that your staff and you have a roadmap. You understand, you're not just out there flying and shooting at different targets. You know what your targets are for the upcoming, 1, 5, and 10 years. And a strategic plan is not something that you do when you sit on the shelf. It's a living, breathing document that you work with. And based on your input and the input of the citizens, that's how a strategic plan is developed. That really needs to happen. But the budget and fixing some of those items is a lot more pressing. Fixing your policy is pressing. Getting an up-to-date personnel manual, it's only a few years old, but it's missing some things. I would love to see succession plans, even with the staff of only 20-something, but I don't think it's something that needs to be done right now. And then I'm going to encourage council trainings that are cheap. I know the mayor and Councilor Barron both attended cheap training on Friday with City Hall Essentials. And, I don't expect in one meeting, the poor mayor took over brand new, actually got the mayor and the city secretary confused when I walked in. The mayor took over brand new and had to run the meeting. So you need a lot of those free trainings that you can get in parliamentary procedures and open meetings, open records, assisting your city secretary in making sure that you create a really nice, clean record for the city of Blanco, which I did not observe that last time. And so, but all those trainings, I don't need to do. I can send you to really cheap ones or free ones. And so that's why I put it on there, to keep you on my radar. So every time I see something like that, I'm going to send it to Will, who can communicate that with you all. So I don't think that you can attend too many parliamentary proceedings, open meetings, especially you, Mayor. You have a big job that you're not used to up here. So I'll keep my eye out. I know all the distribution lists for the free ones for you, or the very reduced cost ones for you. Okay. With that said, what's remaining on the proposal that I think needs to be done now, the reason I think it needs to be done now, I just had a short meeting with your city administrator. I think one of these things, many of these things could actually bring liability to the city if they're not sound policies. And I think the job descriptions that I got are not complete. They need work. And I would like a job description for every staff person that is here. So, I could go on and on about each of these, but you can read, you know what they say. So with that, I would just stand for questions for what's on this list.
Kelly, can I ask you, help me understand, we have a comprehensive master plan, which candidly has not been implemented. It's been put on the shelf and every now and then pulled out, and if something happened, that was quite accidental.
Mm-hmm.
So help me understand how a strategic planning process fits in with our comprehensive master plan. Is it a way to update that and make sure we're on target, or what?
Do you know the date of your?
2004.
Exactly. That's exactly right. So your plan should be updated about every 5 years. And it should be a living, breathing document. And once you get that first good one in, I would suggest we can look at, I did it, you look at 2004, but I think it's probably going to change pretty much. And so this is my preference on strategic planning and for cities is that, and I started this in the last city I was in, have town hall meetings. Bring the residents in, listen to them, make them own it and want it. And what's really cool about it is that if you have a town hall meeting, you get a strategic plan, I'm just envisioning it right now. Citizens everywhere, what's important to you, right on these boards, or just charting the way that we do it, and really get their input. And then the following year, when you have your town hall meeting, your city administrator gets up and says, okay, this is the plan that we had last year. These were our goals, our short-term, these are our long-term. These are our goals for 2022. I want to go through each of these goals, and I want you citizens to see how this council and this staff made certain that we completed these goals for the year. So obviously you want to make sure they're reasonable and attainable within 1 year, and some of them are a little, more long-term. But it's a great way to involve the community. It's a great way to have community participation and ownership of what's going on in City Hall. And it creates, I'm going to assume, I don't know, but it's like this in most cities, there's a lot of mistrust between the public and City Hall. And so it's a way to mend some of that. It's a way to get the public involved. Plus you need it. You can't continue to run a city. I just imagine like one of those skeet shoots, shooting at whatever's up there in the air. You need a solid plan as to how you want to proceed. And it does not mean that if you have, we have 2 newly electeds here. It does not mean that if you have 2 different newly electeds, next time, that it can be amended or changed, because it is, you can amend it. But you always want community input with that. And I just don't understand how you run a city without a plan and without direction. And you don't have that right now. So do I think it's a need? Yes. But do I think it's more important than fixing the budget and your IRS problems? No, I think that's more important. So I'm just trying to prioritize here. The other thing I will tell you that I forgot to mention early, and I did talk to your mayor about this. This is the worst of the worst. This is like the maximum amount of hours that I think it's going to take. What I like to do is I like to say, okay, here's what I think you need. And then my dream is to come in at the beginning of August and go, we're able to do this in 6 hours, we're able to do that in 20, I don't want to come in at the beginning of August and say, oops, we need to change order, we need to do something else different. So that's just me, it's the way I operate, because I want you to have good surprises, not bad surprises. Any other questions? None from the councilors online? Any here?
I would like to propose that we go into executive session and discuss this a little bit. I don't know if that's appropriate or not.
It's not an executive.
No, I don't
session.
think we need to talk in executive session. I think we just need to discuss on what we want to spend and what we want to do.
And you need to have you have to have a legal reason.
Yeah,
for
right.
it.
Legal reason to do this, we just.
Because you're just saying,
I think it is. I like it.
Well, it's illegal or competitive to manage, right? I mean, if you win it, but either way, we would need Brad on.
No.
So we don't have Brad with us tonight.
No, but I can call him.
I don't think you have an exception right now,
We do not.
based on the agenda.
No.
Okay, do you agree?
I agree.
Yes, I agree. So one of the things I want to encourage the mayor in the discussion, because part of the things that we were looking at here candidly is that some of the things here, and honestly, our mayor comes with a background in HR, and so as we're looking at some of the things that you're proposing in terms of job descriptions and employee manuals and those sorts of things, with someone who has expertise in those areas, is that something with resources from TML and other sites that she, as a full-time mayor with that kind of background and training, might be able to accomplish for us, that we could save some of that taxpayer money and maybe not need your particular level of expertise for some of those functions?
So absolutely, you can have your mayor do this. This is an absolute council decision. You can have your mayor do all of it. I will tell you, I'm not going to come in and do a piece here and a piece here, because I don't want my name on it. If my name's on it, to me, this is building a foundation. You need a solid, steady foundation, and I'm not willing to build 50% of the foundation, because I don't know what the other 50% is gonna look like, and it's gonna have my name on it.
Okay.
And so I just went through something similar with I got hired by a council in the Dallas area. And so when we were done, I ended up basically doing the contract for them. But it's not anything, I think your mayor is sure a wonderful person, and I'm no doubt capable. But if it's gonna have my name on it with my expertise, whether it be on the policy or the personnel side, then I want to do it. I don't mind, like I told you before, I don't mind subcontracting some of it out. Absolutely, I'm happy to do that. And I'm happy to give some of the work that I see to the mayor. But I want to oversee it. If I'm going to oversee your foundation, then I need to oversee the foundation.
So what I'm hearing now, make sure I understand right, you're perfectly fine with taking the budget part off. You're good with that, but on these other things, you see them as interactive.
Mhm.
And if some of the hours are diminished by work that the mayor does to produce work product, your hours may be fewer than what's proposed here because you're overseeing it as opposed to actually creating it, but you want to make sure that you've ultimately got responsibility for final sign off, that that's a good final work product.
I think part of that assessment is accurate. As far as the budget, I'm staying out of it. But what you do have is you have now hired somebody that your city administrator feels like is a qualified person to do your budget. And so you all accepted that contract and everybody was okay with it. So you don't need me involved in that. That's a waste of taxpayer money.
Right.
So I will eliminate that one for sure. Yeah, and so absolutely, do I think the hours are gonna be less? Yes, I do. I'm giving you worst case scenario. And the other thing that I come with is access to an attorney with City Hall Essential. So they'll look at my stuff as well. So it's not like your attorney should have to do work with my work product. It's already being looked at. I mean, he may review it before something, but there would be no attorney salary involved with this whatsoever. And without this, there absolutely is going to have to be attorney salary involved. If you have somebody that's not certified to do it, then absolutely you do want the attorney to check.
Okay. Two other quick questions, and sorry for being so anal. Can you give me just an example? I'd like to understand what a citywide policy is. Maybe we have them, but I don't know what it is, so I don't know. And secondly, what is a desk audit? Describe for me a desk audit.
So a desk audit is where you first look and say, is there a job description for this certain position, yes or no? Then you sit there, you go through their work with them, you try to be as thorough as you can and see, are they doing additional duties that aren't involved in the job description? Are they doing less? Should that job description be split up into two positions? Should that be eliminated and it goes somewhere else? Until you get in there and you start looking and you start mapping it out, it's hard to know. All I've done is spoken with you all, done some research on you, and spoken for a short time to your city administrator, and he gave me some policies. I'm just hoping some of them may be lost. But you need good sound policies. A good policy, a good personnel manual, thorough job descriptions, and some training can prevent many a lawsuit. Can remove the city from a lot of liability. And so I think that you need to be very thorough when you're doing these things. So, and it kind of seems like right now at City Hall, God bless them, it seems like everybody's just kind of doing what they can that's thrown at them just to keep their head above water. And so you just need to look at that and assess that. And it's not only for the city's protection, it's for their protection as well. Works both ways. Absolutely. Any other questions on the list?
Oh, I have a couple questions. I'm just, can you describe for me, tell me a little bit more about the retreats that are on this proposal? for council and for staff?
Yes, Counselor, good question. So as far as the retreats go, as a previous city and county manager and state director, I did retreats every quarter. It's a great way to understand what the council wants, what their expectations are, and see if you can set that into motion for the council. And the other thing that I like doing council retreats for is making certain that you understand open meetings, that you understand parliamentary procedures. I feel like you could sit in some of these classes 4 or 5 times, procedures, ethics, what a policymaker really does. You can sit in these classes with 150 people, or you can sit with somebody one-on-one and work with each other through it. And so that's the method I've always employed, I've always done with councils. I think it's effective. Same thing with the staff retreat. What's happening? Who's, teamwork? What's going on here? Who's understaffed? Who's overstaffed? What are your ideas? And then you sit and you look at the two, and how do they coincide with council's ideas? I honestly, looking at the staff retreat, and at the time when I was doing this, I thought there was 30 employees, or like 21, and one, that's gonna be less, I can already tell.
Excuse me,
Yes.
Kelly, I didn't hear the last thing you said. The sound quality from my end is pretty poor. I'm having a hard time following some of what you said. Just the last little paragraph that you said. I'm sorry.
Oh, I just think the preparation for the staff retreat is not gonna take that long. I was going off of about 30 employees, and I don't think it's gonna take that long.
Yeah, I didn't get it.
Yeah, I can't hear it as well.
I mean, there's so much feedback on this side. I know what people are saying when they say it's, virtually impossible to understand. I'm really struggling to keep up because there's so much feedback. But yeah, I didn't get it the second time either.
Okay, Mayor, Councilor, what I said was, I think that the staff retreat preparation, just realizing how many positions there are now, there's about 9 less than I thought there were. I don't think that's gonna take 10 hours. Based on the number of positions you have, but also the fact that, many of them are police department and public works.
So you're saying, I'm sorry, you're saying you don't think that's necessary, or you do?
No, I don't think the preparation for the staff retreat is going to take that long. I
That's-
propose 10 hours. No.
Oh, that's so much better sound. I don't know if you just moved closer to the mic or what, but so much better. Okay, thank you.
Yes, ma'am.
And so, I do think, all of us are kind of looking for where, not that I don't agree with you that, certainly if your name's going to be on it, you want to know what your name is on. But I think we're just looking at places we may be able to trim a little bit of this. And I understand also that this is kind of worst case scenario, and probably the hours are going to come in less than this. But I'm just wondering if that's maybe something that could be pulled out of this to bring it down a little bit for us.
Mayor, council member, I think the thing that I heard tonight that makes me believe we're going to be able to bring some of the hours down is, in particular, some of the job descriptions. As they needed to be updated, I can take notes. If your mayor's going to be there full time, I'd be happy to use your mayor. That would save hours right there.
Okay. Great. Thank you.
Mm-hmm. Again, if I use the mayor, though, I just want to make certain that I'm reviewing the work. That's all I ask.
It sounds like the question here may be, what dollar amount is the council comfortable with spending? And if we are at a dollar amount initially that we're comfortable spending, is that dollar amount something that Kelly feels like she can really begin to work on and give us some of the work product we need for that dollar amount?
So,
yes,
Mayor, Councilor, that's where I'm not trying to be difficult, but I want to be realistic. I don't want to come in and do these partial things and not this, because my name is associated with it. And I don't think it's anybody's fault here, but this stuff should already be done. And it's shocking that some of it is not. And so, yeah, the strategic plan, I mean, 22 years old, that's a long time. So, of course, I put that in phase 2, but you need a good foundation. And I will do everything I can to keep the hours at, reduced. I'll do everything I can. And when I'm coming close to X amount, we can come in and talk about it again. If you want, we'd like to do that. That's easy.
Where would the budget come from for this? Do we have a line item in there, or would we have to put something together as far as the budget for this?
There is not a line item available in the budget. If you want to do it, would have to do a budget amendment that would take it out of reserves, general operating. But there is no money budgeted for this right now.
I have a question, and that would be how much of these funds would apply to the 2021 budget, and how much, approximately what percent of it would apply to the 21-22 budget?
If I'm not mistaken, yeah, all of it would be this year, 2021. Because she wants to be out by October 1.
Yeah, August.
August 1. I just was speaking in terms of budget.
Yes, yeah.
I know we have a serious budget problem, a finance problem, and I'm wondering if we might not want to direct our resources immediately into dealing with that and maybe hold off on this just a little bit. And I realize that how everything needs to fit together, but we really need to go after that budget thing and or finances and maybe wait a little while on this rather than try to do it all at once.
Keith, I have a comment on that. I think we're aggressively addressing the budget issues. I mean, they're not resolved, but we are aggressively addressing that at this time. And in my opinion, this needs to be in concert with that so we can get a better control on everything and not just one item at a time.
I just think a lot of the things on here, like the market salary study, we know what that answer is. We know that our employees are underpaid, and we know we can't compete with the area we're at.
Martin, could you speak into the mic really close? It makes it such a difference on our end.
Okay. Basically, I was saying that the market salary study, I mean, hey, you got your friend over there.
My grandma.
Basically, we know what that answer is going to be, or I feel I know what that answer is going to be, and it just seems, why spend money on an obvious answer. Same thing with the desk audits. I mean, that I've spent a lot of time in there, and it's hard to. I mean, the way I understand the desk audits is trying to understand where you spend your time, to tie to the job description. But having such a small staff that at any moment, I mean, like Will, as city admin, he's over here being the sound guy, so there's things that having a small city and a small staff that it's hard to have a set job description. That's where you do the all other duties as assigned, because at any time you're going to have Olga doing, things that aren't in her job description. So I don't know, it just seems.
So Mayor Pro Tem, let me just correct you on one thing. When you do a market analysis, you would never compare it to San Antonio or Austin. What you would do is you would get like cities, population-wise, personnel-wise. That's how a market salary is done. That's why it takes some time, because you got to dig up cities and you got to figure out who's fairly comparable in the market. And then you want to look at the CPI, and you want to look there, there's a lot of things you look at in a market study, but it's definitely not comparing it to San Antonio and Austin, because you're right, it'd blow these guys out of the water. And the other thing is, as far as their job descriptions, it's a systematic approach to understanding you as a council, what every person does, because you're the ones that are approving these positions in this budget. And so you need that information, in my opinion, in order to make an informed decision as a council member. Do you add a staff person? Do you remove a staff person? Do you remove, right now you have a vacant public works position. Do you not fill that and try to get these couple of people up to market? I don't know, because I haven't dug in there yet. I'm not sure. I don't know what the answer is, but a market study is never comparing that. It's comparing apples to apples as close as you can get. So maybe that puts your mind at ease a little bit.
And I know I'm a new kid on the block, so y'all can slap me around if you want to. But I just think when I say we as a town, we have been incredibly insulated, and we've sort of done things the way we've always done them, and we've gotten by on a shoestring, and we haven't wanted to ask for any money, and we live in fear of raising income. And I just feel like if we're really going to change the way we operate, as in a lot more transparency for our citizens to understand how we're spending money and why, and build a foundation. Right now, we're just building on whatever has been there for however long it's been there, whether that's good or bad, right or wrong, whether it makes any sense. And I personally would be far more comfortable to know that we are coming in with a really good foundation of what is state of the art for a community of this size moving into the future, with qualifications and salaries and policies and procedures and job descriptions. And we're not a big city, but we're about to be. And if we don't start acting like one now by getting the expertise we need to build that foundation, we are going to get swallowed up and kicked around. So I think we have to really consider spending some money now to make sure we've got what we have in place, so that as we go forward, we are less likely to make more mistakes, flail around, try to figure out what we're doing. And what concerns me is that continuity, because every 2 years we get a new council, every 2 years we get a new mayor, unfortunately, sometimes less than that, we get a new city secretary, hopefully not again. But that's what we've had, this constant turnover. And without real sound policies and procedures and direction, those new people who come in, be they city council people or employees, they drop in and they don't really know what they're supposed to be doing or what their direction is or anything. So at some point, and I think this is as good a point as any, we really have to consider, what are we going to do going forward? Do we just want to sort of figure it out, or do we want to make the investment to hopefully get what we need to build that foundation to be a smart city going forward?
I think the first part is that direction and that strategic plan. I mean, if we have that, then we can direct the staff. I mean, we need that direction. So that part, I'm totally for, is the strategic plan, or, some sort of direction to give staff to say, we're all on the same boat. And like we said, it's going to change every year. You're going to get a couple of new people and they're going to have their priorities, and we adjust it. But to me, that's almost the start, is having that plan.
So Mayor Pro Tem, I'm sure your city administrator can attest to this. Strategic plans are expensive. I can absolutely do a strategic plan, and I can do one cheaper than any company that you would send it out to bid. It still takes a lot of time. And so I agree with you 100%. These people here are operating without, it's like a football team operating without a game plan, right? They're just, and the same with the council. You're trying to address what's being thrown at you, but you don't have a plan. You don't have your goals and your objectives set out that are solidified by you, the governing body, and the people. And so that was just, I put it in there because it's a hole I saw. One of your council members had obviously done her homework. She was right. That was a long time ago. So that's a pretty old strategic plan, or master comprehensive plan is what you all have. But yeah, that definitely needs to be done. I still would recommend, you've gone this long without one, you can do that. If you want to split this up, you can do that strategic plan in 2022 in that fiscal year. These other things, fundamentally, you have one lawsuit come from any of this stuff, and this was a significant, I mean, this is insurance is what this is.
What if we said to you, Kelly, we're comfortable saying, let's go for it, not to exceed without revisiting it, 25,000 or 30,000. We can live with that. And then if you will see how much you get done moving through this, and then if there's some things you weren't able to complete, we can come back and revisit, or we might say, you know, that's a darn good work product, and that gets us where we need to be, and we're okay with that. That, I think, is where our mindset is. We keep coming back to, gee, we'd like all of this, but it feels like a lot of money to us.
So let me ask you this.
How do you feel about that?
Yeah, thank you, Mayor, Councilwoman. Let me tell you this. I don't even know. I don't even remember. I'm doing so. I have a city in queue right now waiting that if I told them I don't know if I can start in a few weeks. I don't know if I can start in August. I don't know yet. So I'm thinking months ahead right now. I'm not even back at this proposal right now. But so what was the number on this proposal? I don't do that. Okay, so you take 8 off immediately, 8,000 off of that for budget construction. And so then you're at 34,000. I think you could take off 5 hours, another 500, so that's 3,500. Again, I don't think some of this stuff is going to take this long, but I hate to put that in here and then have to come in and go, never mind. So I think you could safely say, if you, I mean, right now, as it is, it stands at a $33,000 proposal. So it, just by taking that piece out of the budget. So does that help anybody?
It helps me.
Some of the sticker shock?
It helps me as well. And I would just like to also just address something Keith mentioned earlier of just waiting a little bit to get started. And, you know I've heard you say this a few times, Kelly, that you do have other cities waiting. I mean, we have a little window here where we have an opportunity to have some real expertise help us sort this stuff out. And as you said, get a good foundation. And I don't think we can wait on that. And I don't think we should wait on it, because I know Councilmember Smith looked around previously to try to find someone who was in a position to help us with this. And it's not like there's a lot of this out there available at any given one time. So I'm encouraged that we were able to bring the numbers down a little bit where it feels a little bit more comfortable. It's still kind of sticker shock, I think, to many of us, especially when we don't have a clear picture of where we are in our budget. But I feel like it's pretty important. And again, one lawsuit and this will look like chump change. If we don't get some of this under control and really in a place where we can move forward with some confidence, and with the citizens having confidence in us, that's where I'm at with it.
Mayor, Council, I just saw something else too. And you asked Will the question and I gave him the wrong answer. This would all be expended in 2021, not the quarterly staff follow-ups. Right there at the bottom, that's 16 hours. That would happen if we finish this in August, that first one wouldn't even happen until 2022. So actually that's another.
Which item is that?
That's the quarterly follow-up with staff.
Oh,
Because what you want to do is you want to make sure that everybody's on track and you don't need any adjusting. And so that can come off for this 2021 budget as well. That's 33 minus 1,600. So now you're at, I would say, not to exceed 31.5. So you just got it down again.
Well, that would be, we would still contract with you for the additional services. It just wouldn't be expended in that year.
Mayor, Councilmember Smith, that is correct if that's what this body chose to do based on the work product that was delivered to you.
Okay. Mayor, if you're ready, I would like to make a motion.
well, I just got a quick question before that, if you don't mind, Mr. Smith. So how close are we to knowing where we are on this current budget as far as, are we way over as far as income and, you know, what we have budgeted?
Actually, this evening, that's what I was trying to do. Will gave me, asked for the proposal of the budget
Oh, you
versus
might want to
actual.
speak it
Hey,
up.
Oh, yeah, I'm sorry.
Not hearing,
Can you hear me?
we're
Anyway.
not hearing you.
Okay, can you hear me now?
Yes.
Okay. Will gave me this evening, he wanted to get me started on the budget versus actual. Being that QuickBooks doesn't have it, I'm going to go ahead and just put it in Excel. So I've got the numbers. It's going to take me probably a day or two just to get all the numbers into, and the formulas were not right. So I'm going to have to redo the whole thing, but I will do that and I can get it to you. I will know more on Thursday morning when Will and I sit down and talk to Tracy. She's going to come. She's going to try and present the audit to you in June. So that's a good thing. We'll see where we are with, because my concern is fund balance. IRS is taken care of. We got a letter today and they approved and I passed. So everything is done with the IRS and that's behind us. So now we're going to go forward with the rest of the things. So my next thing is I've already given Laura the budget calendar and the goals and objectives for council and mayor. We will also go over goals and objectives and performance indicators with staff. So that is going to be addressed well. We will be doing that in the budget workshops that we have. We're going to schedule hopefully 2 in June. And then we can go forward with making the plans as where the city is going to go in terms of, you know, what goals you want. So that is something that's important. I am a GFOA or was a GFOA that's the national reviewer. So I know what is needed for a award for the GFOA. Now, we don't have the actuals, again, like I said, because until I know what happened in 2019 and then coming forward in 2020 with the financial statement, which hopefully we'll know more on Thursday. So that's where we're at right now. But be happy with the fact that IRS is done.
All right, thank you.
Thank you,
You're
Lynn. Now, Will, when I visited briefly with Will today, you said that our budget, our actual to budget was in pretty good shape, bottom line numbers. So if we are budget to actual is okay.
But the problem that we have is the fact that, first of all, QuickBooks does not have a budget to actual. So we're inputting the numbers, and I have a problem at year end in September 2019, which then escalated, as you saw in the last meeting in year end 9/30/20. So those totals, what the auditors do is because they can't perform the work and then audit it, they're washing it through the income statement. So I don't really per se have actuals. Now, I will say that the big journal entry that is reclassifying cash, that one is primarily payroll liabilities. And I know we have an issue with QuickBooks in terms of not balancing, which was part of the problem with the IRS. What the 941s and what the payroll summaries had were, as I showed you last time, were not the same numbers. We still have that issue. So we need to get that issue cleared up. And I do have a CPA that Ms. Councilman Barron told me to call, and I called, and she can help us with that. It's just a matter of me getting the numbers to her and then her taking a look at it, because she's a QuickBook expert. And she's able to help us with that aspect of it, which is great. Because that's the biggest problem that I'm having, is the fact that it is in QuickBooks and it's not fund accounting.
So I think the problem that we're sitting on right now is that none of us has a real confidence level with what we're spending, but are we going to sit and delay? I mean, when we look at the volume, if we look at our budget overall, what we have to expend, how close we are to the end of our budget year, the condition we would like to be in as we begin the budget year and our planning for next year. If we're looking at a $30,000 expenditure, yes, $30,000 sounds like a real bite in the rear end. But in the overall picture and what we're trying to accomplish, and given that we don't have an answer right now, we may not have an answer for another 30 days or more, do we wait?
Hopefully, at least my answers will be, hopefully, I should say my questions will hopefully be answered on Thursday. Because when she comes in, I'm going to ask her. I don't know, I know that the books did not balance when she went forward as of October 1st of 2019 to 2020. So I know what I would do as an auditor, because I am an auditor, but I don't know that that's what she's doing. It would make more sense to just combine the both years of what was off and then just bring it forward. But then I have the problem of the reoccurring entries that my predecessor did coming forward. So in April, from the time I started going forward, I put it in there correctly, but to go back and correct 8 months worth of data is going to be kind of time consuming. And it's just me. That's the biggest problem. You know, I spent a month just cleaning up payroll stuff, but at least that's done. And once we get a good number from her, and I know what she's doing at year end at September of 2020, then I can go forward as to what I need to do for this year to try to at least rectify it, to get a halfway decent audit for the 21 audit. Because that's my concern, is the 21 audit. I mean, I can't do anything about the 2020, and I sure can't do anything about the 2019. But the issue is still there in QuickBooks. And what the CPA was telling me, which I did not know this about QuickBooks, the reason that my predecessor did some of the things she did, well, first of all, she's not an accountant and she didn't know how to do journal entries. But the second thing, QuickBooks does not do journal entries. It does not do double-sided accounting. So, and there's no due to, due from set up in your balance sheet. And because there's no due to, due froms, she didn't do any of the transfers between the funds for any payments that the general fund made that should have come out of water sewer or debt service or grants or whatever the case may be. And so without that, that's why the auditors had all these adjustments that they had to do. So some of it was the fault of my predecessor, but some of it was also the fault that QuickBooks does not do the journal entries that needed to be done.
I think at the end of the day, it's just a matter of, are we comfortable spending this money or are we not? We don't know. We're flying a little bit blind, but you know, we're going to be flying blind for a little while till we get everything resolved. So we're kind of in a tough spot because we've got a window of opportunity. We know we have things we need to do. Do we have all the information we need to make that decision? We do not. And so it's a cost benefit analysis of whether the cost to do it is going to benefit us. And we hope that when we get the numbers, they're going to show that we were able to afford it and we're good. And you know what? If we weren't able to afford $30,000, I got a feeling we are in a whole lot worse shape than that, which is going to be a lot worse than the 30,000.
Okay. Councilor Barron, I do have a comment. I think as Linda works, she's trying to get a basis and a foundation to go forward on the accounting to ensure that the possible errors aren't transferred year after year. And I think that's a good format to be working in. At the same time, you know, from a staffing position and from a management position, we have an opportunity to build a foundation here. And this foundation's needed for us to go forward and be better suited to help the city in the future. And for that reason, when the mayor is ready for a motion, I'll be happy to make one.
Councilmember Smith, if you're ready. Councilmember Smith, I'm ready to hear your motion.
Okay. Well, first of all, I appreciate everybody's input on this and Ms. Kutzler's efforts and interest in helping us address some issues. And I make a motion that we approve her proposal dated May the 17th, 2021, deleting the work task for the budget construction and amending the amount of funds approved for the 2021 budget and the proposed work that'll be done in 21-22. And that amount would be $33,000. And the work to include but not be limited to all those items listed on her sheet, excluding the budget, as directed by Mayor Lumpy and or the council.
Okay, so Councilmember Smith moved to approve the proposal from May 17th with deleting the budget construction and amending the hours, and the total is 33,000. Do I hear a second?
Was it 33 or was it 31.5? But you were including part of that in the 2022.
It'd be 31.5 in 2021 and another 1,500 in 2022.
I'll second that.
Discussion?
Go. I think you're going to say what I'm going to say.
Maybe. You need to amend the motion to include a budget amendment of where the money's going to come from. So if we're going to take that money, you need to amend the motion to reflect a budget amendment to be taken from reserves applied to this budget. So now we're raising our, exactly. Now we're increasing our overall city budget by this amount.
That's exactly right. Unless your chief financial officer finds that you have the funds to pay for it, then you would go into reserves. The only thing I wouldn't do is there's no reason to do two contracts, one that for that small amount. It clearly says quarterly meetings. Quarterly means every 3 months. So I think you can leave it like that. And then we'll just put the date of the contract from now through the end of next fiscal year. Does that sound palatable?
Can we obligate next year's budget?
That's a good point. That's a very good point. No, don't do that. Bad advice. So go ahead and approve the 31.5. And then Councilor Smith, I would remove the budget line item and the quarterly follow-up line item. And then we can do a separate one for the quarterly follow-up later. How's that?
All right.
Good catch, Councilor Mullen. Yeah.
All right. I would like to amend my motion. And I would like to also delete the quarterly follow-up with staff. The 16 hours is noted on the proposal, and amend the amount approved to $31,500.
Budget amendment?
Just to include a budget amendment.
Do you want me to do the budget amendment as well?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay. And I would propose that we initiate a budget amendment at the amount of where were we? 32, I'm sorry, I've lost my numbers.
31.
At the amount of 31.5, and this is to come out of reserves if needed.
Okay, Council Member Smith has amended his motion. He'd like to approve the contract from May 17th, 2021. Delete the budget construction. And the quarterly follow-up.
Up with staff.
And have a budget amendment for 31,500 that will come out of the reserves if necessary.
General fund reserve. Yep, specify what fund,
General fund reserve.
Taken from the general fund reserves. Is there a second?
I'll second.
I'll second.
Discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Okay.
Motion does not carry.
Special meeting requires a supermajority for any special meeting vote.
Motion does not carry. Do I have a motion to adjourn?
I'll make that motion.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, the meeting is adjourned at 6:58.
Thank you.
Thank you. I'll be down.